What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Black Couch Booking here with another video, and today we are starting a new series on the channel, an in-depth character analysis, and we're going to start with Gunther, formerly known as Walter. If you're new to the channel and you want to join the Couch crew, please like, comment, and subscribe. This is the first video. We're going to see how we do. We're going to see if you guys like it. We're going to see if we get some comments, some engagement. So, let's talk about it. So, I'm going to throw some things at you guys. I'm going to talk to you. I'm not going to go too crazy. We're having casual conversations. That's why you guys are subscribed to this channel, because we are fans and we're knowledgeable and we like talking about these characters in the universe of WWE, but we don't have to get super technical and use ChatGPT to make a script and stuff like that. This is how we talk to one another. We're a family. So let's get right into it. Like I was saying, Gunther, formerly known as Walter. So how I was introduced to Gunther, I first saw him as Walter. He was the NXT UK champion, and when I seen this guy, right, if you guys watch basketball, I would compare this guy to a Jokic, Luka Doncic type of guy. His body, wasn't crazy, wasn't a crazy Vince McMahon type of body where the guy is super muscular, looks like he's roided out of his mind or anything like that. So I didn't really know anything about him. I didn't think he was special, but I really did start to get into him as I started to pay more attention. When I first was doing my YouTube thing, I made a whole video about how I hated that they changed his name from Walter to Gunther, and this is when he was first starting off on the main roster, and I was like, bro, okay, this dude got in shape, he looks better, but I was just very upset with the name change. But let me not jump the gun. So him as a character, he's been booked extremely well throughout his entire career thus far, which hasn't been long. What people don't realize is he officially signed in 2019. When I was doing my research, that's not that long ago. NXT UK in 2019, and he didn't get to the main roster to 2022. Think about that. Basically during the pandemic time, he signed before the pandemic, and he was champion at NXT UK through the pandemic, and they say his reign was 870 days. So basically, this guy right here started the long reign, trend that's happening right now with Roman Reigns, with Austin Theory, with Bianca Belair, with Gunther right now, another long reign. So this guy was the originator. They definitely got, the idea to have a long reign from Gunther. And, they said we're going to apply that to Roman Reigns. So if Roman Reigns, give Gunther credit, because that's probably the reason why you have such a long title reign. I know you guys thinking about the old days with guys holding titles for 3 years and blah blah blah, but I'm positive that they looked at Gunther like, man, this guy's booked really good. What if Roman Reigns had the belt for over 1,000 days or something like that? Because Gunther made the NXT UK title extremely relevant. Now, obviously, he wasn't the only guy to hold the belt, but when I think about the NXT UK title, I think about Gunther, aka Walter. So with his character, if you really think about his character, the reason why I believe the character works so well, because his character is simple. He's not doing a whole bunch of talking. He's not jumping off the turnbuckle. He's not doing a whole bunch of crazy spots. He's a guy who fights hard. When the character of Sheamus first came out, people really liked Sheamus. He was pushed to the moon so fast because he's a guy who fights hard. When Drew McIntyre came back, he came back more muscular, came back bigger, and he's a hard fighter. I think generally the fans like guys who put in an effort and who have a smash mouth type of wrestling style. We also like technical guys. There's something to a guy who has one aspect of their style in the ring that just makes them stand out, especially when they're expert at it. Like a Chad Gable, you know what you're gonna get with Chad Gable. You're gonna be very technical. With a Kurt Angle, you know what you're gonna get with Kurt Angle. With a powerhouse like Batista, you know what you were gonna get. With a high flyer like a Jeff Hardy or Rey Mysterio, you knew what you were going to get. So with guys that do spots and you can hear the slap, you can see the red on their chest performing, and even against their opponent, that's something that people genuinely like. So Gunther was having like 4 or 5 star matches basically his whole career. If you think about it, NXT UK, Gunther was silently putting that brand on his back, and people weren't really noticing. And then once he got to, you know, the regular NXT, that's when people kind of started paying attention a little bit more. But he didn't even have to do much there, because people knew he was good enough to go to the main roster. And him as a character, you have to give credit to Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser. I like saying his name, Ludwig Kaiser. It's just funny. But anyway, you have to give credit to how they were booked with him as well, because that makes the character even better. There are certain things that you have to do in order to build this character. So if he is the ring general, he has to have followers, he has to have soldiers. And you know, having his own announcer is one of the most badass things ever. Think about Umaga. Think about sometimes when Paul Heyman does the announcing for Roman Reigns. You have to think about sometimes when Zelina Vega would do the announcing for Andrade. Like, the stuff, there's little small aspects of that can like make or break the character. And you wouldn't think stuff like that would be very important, but it really is. For example, when Shawn Michaels had Sensational Sherry as his valet, she would sing his theme song, which would eventually turn into, you know, hearing the male version of Shawn Michaels' theme song, which is sung by him, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, moving on, presentation. When I first seen his entrance, I was like, holy shit, that is cool as fuck. It's just a white background that says Imperium, but when he comes out, it's just like the lighting is sensational. The lighting is perfect, especially on a large scale where you have a big Tron in the background, and it's just like him looking badass. And then when he comes out, when all three of Imperium comes out, it's even more like it's just sensational. And they never mess up the entrance when they're flipping his coat and stuff like that. He has 2 enforcers. Like, he really looks like a badass. That's why it works better with having 2 enforcers instead of 1. You know, the 1 was fine for a time, but you know, once, you know, those 3 were reunited, it just looks better. As a character, if we're looking at the psyche of his character, is just the guy who is, you know, who is running things. He has his own lackeys, and he's on top of the world. He's unstoppable. This is on Wikipedia, and I don't know if this is true, but they said he hasn't lost a singles competition, which I really can't remember if he has or not. I'm gonna go with that for right now. I cannot remember this guy getting pinned in a one-on-one match, but he did lose the NXT UK title, right? Or did he just leave it? See, I couldn't even tell you guys, because it's been that long, which it hasn't been a long time, but you know what I'm saying? But I'll let me know in the comments. I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just crazy how this guy is working. So because, and I say that because a lot of big guys turn into jokes. They're breakdancing, they're doing just weird things, you know what I'm saying? And he hasn't turned babyface yet. Like, even though there were moments where he could have turned babyface, they didn't do it, which is fine. Even though he gets cheers, you know, there's a thin line between being a babyface and a heel nowadays. But this guy's still more on the heel side because of who he's going against, and they haven't turned him babyface. And I think if they ever do decide to turn him babyface, it will probably have to be him on his own. I don't know if Imperium could turn babyface. Maybe they could do something similar to what the Brawling Brutes have become, because when the Brawling Brutes were heels, you know, I was kind of liking that. But now that they're babyfaces, I can't imagine them going back to being heels anymore. Like, Imperium versus the Brawling Brutes made a lot of sense for the characters, and to have the Brawling Brutes be the babyfaces in that situation. So I believe a guy like Gunther, what's next for a guy like Gunther is the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's next. I think they have to keep going with this, that he's going to be a guy who's going, you know, from belt to belt to belt. And I don't think they're going to mess this up, because the proof is in the pudding. You can book this guy, and The fans are behind him to a certain extent. I'm not saying he gets the craziest pop in the world. You know, he's a heel and he gets the boos they supposed to get, but it's not like he's a guy who's everybody's like disinterested in. Like, oh my god, this guy sucks. SummerSlam was a great indication of how great he is, and that if you are extremely great in the ring, that can carry you to stardom. You don't have to talk that much, but you have to be a 5-star match kind of guy, which is him. That WrestleMania match, triple threat match, was great. His SummerSlam match, great. You know, I haven't really seen a bad match from Gunther, I'm going to be honest. And his performance in the Royal Rumble was stellar. A guy who can't do flips, a guy who can't do little like gimmicks in the Royal Rumble, to be able to get over like that. And even though he lost, you know, a lot of people was like, oh man, this guy's crazy. And he lasted the longest. So you know they're setting him up for something great. He has to lose that Intercontinental Championship. He's brought prestige back to it, but he needs to lose it, because I feel like he needs to become the World Heavyweight Champion. And I say the World Heavyweight Champion because you have to bring prestige to another title. That can be part of his character. He brings prestige to whatever title that he holds. NXT UK, he brought prestige back to the IC belt. He's bringing more prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship. Even though Seth Rollins is doing a great job right now, I think Gunther could take it to the next level, like a Batista, a Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? How things were back in the day. I genuinely believe that Gunther is next up, and I genuinely believe that they're gonna make him the main guy. The fans are behind him, and they will stay behind him. You keep Imperium together, you do not split them up. And I think you just keep booking him the way he's booked, and keep the streak alive of him not taking L's. So, you know, Gunther is a very interesting character, you know, and I'm very I've been drawn to him since, you know, he started on the main roster. I didn't pay a lot of attention to him when he was Walter, but I was, you know, I had my ears to the streets, and I knew that he was good. So like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think Gunther is up next, and do you think his character is a great character, or do you think he's boring? I want to know your opinions down below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for the support. Peace.